Welcome to TORAH Talk. I am your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number 17 of Testimony Tuesdays. Tonight, Jason LaCross from Houston, Texas. Interesting title, from Jason LaCross to Jason No Cross. Why do we say that? Our friend Jason LaCross probably thought I was freaking out when I put up this post. But this is great testimony time. Jason, welcome to the show. Such a pleasure to have you on. I know we've been long awaited, but I didn't want to do this and just jump right in without having some insight as to the contents of your book. And I'll be honest with you. Whenever I met you in Houston and you were going to Rod's, and then I saw your book and I was like, Revealing Matthew's Secrets. I was like, oh boy, this guy is a messianic. and then of course we clarified that there, which is really cool. And then I thought to myself, how clever. That is like such a clever title, because if I was a messianic, I would have bought this book in a heartbeat. That's why I think that's just amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that was done on purpose. I'm not trying to be deceptive, but just wanted to be a little more open with the title.
Right on. And it's a great title choice. It really, really is, because it does exactly what the title says it does. And from what I understand, and this is mine and your conversation, and also some surprising looks from my wife on some things, on some cool stuff that she read. So a lot of the information here you glean from the rabbis and from other sources, but a lot of the stuff you pretty much contributed yourself of your own thoughts. Tell us a little bit about, you know what, hold on, wait, pause. I'm getting it backwards. I told you we were going to do it the other way. I want to do it the other way because I want to hear your story first. So you guys who are tuning in, thank you for watching. The phone lines are open, 855-95-BIBLE. That's 855-952-4253. The number is on your screen right now. So if you want to call in, feel free. If y'all want to call in and be the ones to ask him the questions about his journey, do that. That's perfect. Hey, Mitch, good to see you, brother. And so meanwhile, if the phone does not ring, I'll ask him all the questions that I want to know, and I'll be selfish about it. How's that? So and then we'll take the last half or so of the show, and we'll talk more about this juicy book, man. This is a really cool find. You're gonna love it. I love the highlights. The text, the font size is really nice and easy to read. It's very well laid out. It's really, really nice, man. So, okay, on to your testimony. Okay, so tell me just generally, were you raised in a Christian household? I mean, is all your family members, or was this kind of like the last generation or so? How is it laid out in your family genealogy with the whole Christian thing?
Okay, yes, I was raised in a Christian house. I was raised in a small Episcopal church in Northeast Texas. I know my father was raised Catholic. I think my mother was, I don't know, Church of Christ or something like that. But anyways, we wound up going to a little Episcopal church. Gotcha.
Okay, so, but like generations behind, they were all Christian, or did you?
Oh, yeah, as far as I know, as far back as you want to go, all Christian. Yeah.
That's kind of how it was on my side too. Okay, that's cool. So, as for you as a young boy, were you just kind of like going because you went, and then later on, I mean, like for me, just to kind of clarify, give you some context for my question. For me, my dad was a super Christian rabbi, turned into this Messianic rabbi, but it wasn't until I was like 17. Actually, it was probably more like when I was like 19 probably 17 to 19 is when I finally decided, hey, I'm going to get religious. How was it with you?
Oh. Well, as far as being raised Episcopal, of course, I thought I was in the right group, doing the right thing, and it wasn't until about 20 years ago, whenever I became a dad, that I guess that sparked me to really look into everything. And I started studying things that maybe had been in the back of my mind for years, but I never really questioned my faith until about 20 years ago. And then I just started studying, and I realized I had an appetite for it. I got the Strong's Concordance, the huge thick book, and I had every version of the Bible in English that I could find.
Right.
I had the King James and the American Standard, the Amplified Bible, the Revised Standard, the NIV, I had all these Bibles, and I was studying all of the differences, between them, and all of the differences in the beliefs within Christianity, which is it's really a mess if you really look at it. There's so many disagreements within the Christian church. It's amazing that they've got the same book that they're looking at.
No, you would think they would have each church would have their own version of the Bible, because that's kind of how it seems. Different, same
Right.
print, different interpretation. Is so true.
Right.
So true. Okay, so 20 years ago, you've been doing this for a long time. I think that's awesome. And the thing about it is the reason why I try to target people for the show who came out of Christianity not because they were following someone else out of Christianity, but because they studied their way out. And so, and again, that's why you're here.
Right.
So this didn't come casually. Your neighbor didn't say, "Hey, Jesus isn't the Messiah," and you just said, "Oh, really? Okay, cool. I'll come with you." That's not how this works,
No.
So with the more you study, according to Paul, the blinder you get. But according to logic, no, it's just the opposite. You study and study and study, you gain information, you gain knowledge. And so for you to have studied your way out, like a lot of us have, that's a true testimony, and one worth noting, I believe. So, and so with your, so at what point did you meet your wife, and was Sherry already out, or how long have y'all been married?
A little more than 2.5 years.
Okay, gotcha. So she was already out, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's been involved with Torah study approximately 20 years, close to it.
Wow, that's really cool. Nice.
Yes, very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty much a miracle that we met.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool,
But,
man. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention this as far as my journey, as far as studying all of the different denominations within Christianity and the different teachings within each little sect, I realized that they can't really agree on almost nothing.
Sure.
Except for the whole who is the Savior. They all seem to agree on that.
Right. On the
and
person.
I really started studying that in depth. I started studying, like, what are the prophecies of the Messiah? And, what is the Messiah supposed to do? And that was a real eye-opener when I started realizing that a lot of the things that the New Testament said about the Messiah, the Hebrew Scriptures never said that at all.
Right.
And that was a real eye-opener. I realized the one thing that all these churches agree on is not even what we're supposed to be looking for in a Messiah.
Right.
And I guess studying one thing led to another, and to another, and everything from, like, the Trinity to Satan being the devil, and, like, pretty much all of those teachings started to fall apart when I started kind of dissecting what did the original Scriptures say about all this, and what is the church teaching in the New Testament. And I guess for me, the more I studied, the more the New Testament started to fall apart.
What was your tipping point? What was the one thing that really just said, that's it, for you, is like, I've had enough. This has gone too far.
Okay. I guess for me, it was when I was studying original sin. Okay. Because it became very clear to me that if original sin, if it's a pagan teaching that appears nowhere in the Hebrew Scriptures, but it just magically appears in the New Testament as if it's always been that way, if that's not correct, then the job, the mission of a Messiah could not possibly be what the New Testament portrays it to be. And the more I studied what God actually said in the Hebrew Scriptures, what He told the prophets, and, like, what He told Cain about his countenance falling, and sin crouching at the door.
Oh yeah,
but he
good.
could master.
Right.
Yeah. And just the simple concept of choose life or choose death. So I guess for me, what fell apart was I realized that original sin, like when you read Ezekiel 18, for example, and it says that the son will not be held accountable for the sins of the father, but each person accountable for their own sins.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a direct refutation of original sin. So I guess that was the tipping point for me when I realized, okay, if there is no original sin, well, then obviously the role of a Messiah is not to fix that. It can't be.
Right.
And so, right. And that was the tipping point for me, was just studying the false teachings that have been put into the New Testament.
That's really good. Hey, you know what? This your journey is, as you were talking to me earlier, you thought your journey was boring. I don't think so, man. I think that's awesome. I think for you to be that driven to just start digging, and I mean, even to the point of writing a book. I mean, come on. You can't tell me that I can't wait to get into this. And by the way, I had to apologize. When we first started, I have two screens up, and I had the wrong screen up, so you weren't on the screen for like the first couple minutes, but I put you on there because I had to see your handsome face. So we can
my back.
We can see you now. So pardon me. Okay, so let's see. I don't want to miss any more questions. So if anybody out there has any questions about his journey, call in now, because I'm fixing to get into talking about this book for about the last 15 minutes or however long it takes, and just to kind of go through it a little bit. And but yeah, so I did have one more question about your journey, and it was. It had something to, I should have just asked it while it was on my brain. My multitasking meter is turned off today, I think. So you're once you made up your mind, how long ago was it whenever you did just say, that's it, I'm done, I'm no longer a Christian, and you went public with it? And how difficult was that for you based on friends and family?
Oh wow. Okay. That's a great question. It's kind of complex.
Okay.
I guess it took me approximately a year or two for all of the indoctrinations that I had to kind of fall away. And so I studied my way to where I accepted Judaism as my version of truth, in reality in Scripture. But for a long time, I was a spiritual orphan. I was a man without a congregation or a synagogue or a community or anything. And I was that way for a long, long time. It wasn't until about 3 or 3.5 years ago when I discovered the Torah study group Nativ in Humble, Texas. I became friends with Rod Bryant. And that's the first taste of community that I've had as a Torah studying person.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
So you're saying about 18 years now. You've already been out for like 18 years, roughly 17, 18 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool. That's
right.
Really cool. And so how long have you known Rod? Just to plug Rod, dear friend, he comes on Tanakh Talk from time to time. He's also on Israel News Talk Radio with Ira Michelson. If you guys haven't seen it, you got to look them both up. They're totally righteous dudes, man. So how long have you known Nativ and Rod Bryant and the family?
Okay. I met him shortly after he stopped being the pastor of a church. As soon as he started a Torah study group, we were meeting in a hotel conference room. I met him through a friend of mine that I met through an Orthodox rabbi. Nice. So it was just kind of a chance conversation that I had with a. There was an Orthodox rabbi that was teaching some non-Jews, and he was just teaching them once a month. And so I was going to that class, and there was a person in that class that told me about Nativ, and so it just all worked out. And then, I found out I lived only approximately 20 minutes from there, so that was really nice. And I've been going there since then.
Good. With your exit, of course, this was years ago. I don't know how much you can actually remember, but what did you do to neutralize the issues you had with your family and friends of the excommunication aspect of your life? How did you handle that? And how did you, if you can remember, how did you handle, as you were coming out, family invite you over for Christmas and want you to go to Easter parties and all this stuff? So what did you do? What was your decision making during that time? What was your mode of thinking at that time? How did you handle it?
Okay. Well, very good question. And I don't know that I have the correct answer on this, but as far as back then, yeah, I was kind of a one-man band, or a spiritual orphan, I guess I would say.
Right.
And so I did lose a few friends at work through conversations that came up, and I realized that I really was in a world unto myself at that time. So unfortunately, I kept a lot of it to myself and just did personal studying, personal
Nice.
prayer. And as far as when my kids were little, I told them, the truth, about Santa and the Easter Bunny and all of that, to where at least they knew there was nothing sacred about it. But it wasn't until later that I completely disassociated with all of that. And, I guess I actually kind of regret some of that, but you kind of learn as you go, I guess. And at the time, I didn't have any other support system, I guess you'd say, other
Right.
than Hashem.
Right, and which is going to kind of launch us into the next part of our interview now. I mean, you were isolated. You didn't really have a vent, but maybe, just maybe that's why you were able to, with all that bottled up information, reach out into writing a book. And now this book, as I started talking about earlier, my wife has to do all the reading in the house because, as I told Jason, I don't have any time to read except for my Torah portion. That's about it. And so my wife reads it and she highlights it and she lets me read all of her highlights and so anyway, but she definitely put her major thumb stamp of approval on this book. And so it's really cool. A lot of you, some of the viewers just tuning in. Earlier in the video, I was just talking about revealing Matthew's secrets. When I first saw this, I really thought this guy was a messianic. In fact, and still I say this: if I was a messianic and saw this sitting on the bookshelf in a bookstore, I would definitely buy it and take it home. And then get totally surprised and want my money back completely and paid for gas and everything for having to buy this stinking book because Messianics they don't want to see this stuff. So with that said, tell us about your book. Tell me when you started to write it. Tell me what research you did. I want to hear some of your own insights that you put into the book because you do cite rabbis, you cite different things, but then you have your own citations in here that comes from your head. So tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Like I said, I came out of Christianity approximately 20 years ago. I don't believe I ever planned on writing a book at all. It was approximately 2 years ago. I was talking to Rabbi Tovia Singer. I was telling him I had an idea for a book, and I was pitching it to him as an idea, something that he might want to do. And he really surprised me. And he basically said, that's a great idea. I think you should do it. And it hit me like a brick upside the head. I had never even conceived of it. So I think I spent a little while just pondering those thoughts. And then it finally came to me, hey, why not? Why not do it? So I started looking at the New Testament again, and it had been probably over a decade before I had, it had been a decade since I had even looked at it. And when I looked at it again, I was absolutely amazed. I was amazed at the things that were just jumping out at me. And honestly, I was appalled. I couldn't believe the stuff that, it's been there for 2,000 years, but it's really upsetting if you know the truth of Torah, and then you read these stories, oh, it's a disgrace, to be honest with you. So what I decided to do is I took the whole text of Matthew, the King James version. I've got all of the text in there, and then I went like chapter by chapter or verse by verse, and I inserted commentary that is Torah based, that quotes from the Tanakh to explain all of the errors and the mistakes and the twisted doctrines that have been, that really make up the Gospels, I guess you'd say.
Right. Okay, so sorry, man. I don't think we're going to have enough time to do everything I want to do tonight. So, but maybe we can talk more about your book.
Part two.
You know what? I want to do a part 2 anyway, and we'll plan it so that your wife would be sitting by your side, and then that way we can kind of talk to you both, and then we can, she can kind of add her 2 cents or her dollar's worth, and I'll keep my 2 cents to myself. So there's already a couple people out here. Yeah, there you go. Well, we got about 25 to 30 viewers out there right now, which is good. And one mentioned I must have this book. Yeah, you definitely must have this book. And so you can actually get the book, if I'm not mistaken, on Amazon, or you can get it at Barnes and Nobles. Just type in the title, Revealing Matthew's Secrets, and it'll pop up right away. And then also I put up a minute ago while he was talking the Facebook page. I'm going to put it up again just for a minute. I've left it up for a little while because you need to see how it actually appears, so that if you're looking for it, you can type it in the way this is. So it basically says facebook.com/Revealing Matthew's Secrets, all lowercase, no apostrophes, and a / at the end. If you type that in your browser, in the Facebook browser, it'll take you to his page, and you can like the page or follow it, however it is that you go to do that. And if you have any questions, you can ask him. You can send him a friend request, or you can contact him through his page, and he can answer any questions for you that way. And so, with that said, let's go back and visit some of your book now. There's again, I mentioned I like the fact that it's very easy to read. I'm only 47, but my eyes, I've got bifocals, but I think I need like quadfocals. I'm not sure, but this is comfortable enough to read without my glasses. I got a nice.
Right, I made sure it wasn't small. Yeah.
It's nice to see some bold printed areas. There's shaded areas that really makes it easier to keep track of where you've read and stuff. Okay. And so that's really cool. I just flipped. I'm going to read something my wife I just saw she underlined. I don't even know what it was yet. And it says, "One ordinance shall be both for you of the congregation, and also for the stranger that sojourneth with you." I don't even know what that context was in. I had to read the chapter 10. Let's see. Yeah, actually, let me just flip around. This is really neat. Tell me what are some of your highlights of the book that you liked the best? My wife put something here that says funny. I'll have to read that in a minute. I'm gonna leave this open to this page. So yeah, just kind of tell me some of the stuff that you really enjoy about the book the most.
Okay. I'll start with Matthew 13:35. That's what I call Matthew's false prophecy, because that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
If you look at Matthew 13:35,
I'll pull it up here.
The author of Matthew claims that there's a prophecy to speak in parables, and that this prophecy speaks of a secret that's been kept hidden from the foundation of the world. Now, this so-called prophecy that Matthew talks about, he uses that. That's the basis or the cornerstone of all of the parables that are in all 4 Gospels. So, according to Matthew, the reason that Jesus is speaking in parables is because he's fulfilling this prophecy.
So, you're saying there's no prophecy anywhere that says this?
Exactly, there's not. So if you notice in Matthew 13:35, he says that which was spoken by the prophet, but he conveniently doesn't name the prophet because there's not one.
Yeah, I see that. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a good Bible that has references, and I don't care whether it's NIV or the American Standard. It doesn't matter. If you have a good Bible with references, check it out. It'll lead you to Psalm 78. Nice. But again, there's a huge problem with that. What Matthew did is he took one verse from Psalm 78, but he couldn't even use that because it doesn't say what he wants it to say. So he had to erase half of the verse and create a complete new sentence that is not found anywhere in the Hebrew Scriptures. And so what he starts to do is he quotes a Psalm of David. Well, that's just it. It's a psalm. It's a prayer or a song. It's not a prophecy at all. But if you do take the time to read Psalm 78, it talks about teaching each generation about God and about the mighty works that he has done, so that generations that were not present for, say, the Exodus or Mount Sinai, so that each generation learns about God. And so the ironic thing is Psalm 78, it's about not keeping secrets. It's about teaching each generation. But if you read Matthew's false prophecy, it says, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Well, if you go to Psalm 78, it does not say that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like verse 2 of Psalm 78, it says, I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. Well, that means speaking about the past. I mean, they're dark sayings because they happened in previous generations. So the current generation wouldn't know unless they're taught.
Right.
So the very next verse, verse 3, it says, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works which he had done. So if you take the meaning of Psalm 78, it's not about secrets. It's not about keeping secrets at all. It's about revealing. It's about revealing to each generation the wonderful things God has done. Mm. So what I'm saying is Matthew's false prophecy is just that. It's built on a lie. There's no prophecy. There's no secret from the foundation of the world. The author of Matthew needed that to justify his parable stories. And the whole purpose of the parable stories is to set up replacement theology and predestination. Because a lot of the parables end with the phrase, many are called, but few are chosen. Well, again, so the purpose of the parables is to put replacement theology and predestination into the Gospels, because they're nowhere to be found in the Hebrew Scriptures. No, they're not there. Right. And so what the parables do, it lays the foundation for the church to say that the church was chosen and Israel was not. And that's why they need predestination in there.
Yep. Very, very good point. Man, I tell you what, I can't wait to hear the rest of the book. My wife is up to, she's got about halfway through it. I think she was on the page. In fact, I just pulled her bookmark out. If I don't put it back, she'll probably smack me. 78, I think I told you.
Yeah, don't do that.
So what's the easiest way? Again, I want people to know where they can. In fact, I really would encourage you guys. This book is not. It doesn't have a lot of publicity yet. We're going to try to help him with that. Go to his Facebook page, like the Facebook page. When you're mentioning other books like I'm doing now, Rabbi Stuart Federow's Judaism and Christianity: A Contrast, Rabbi Tovia Singer's Let's Get Biblical. Add this to your mind, in the back of your mind, so that when you refer other books out, tell them about this one too. This is also a really nice jewel, and they're not the same. None of these books are the same. They're all different with the same type of information, packaged differently. So it's different ways of memory. And so I highly recommend, if you don't have the book, get it. It's a great book to have on your shelf, and also to have an extra to pass along to your friends. So
yes.
What's the easiest way for them to find this?
If they just Google Revealing Matthew's Secrets, It's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. And if you're looking for a way to explain why you've left the church, or if you're just having questions about the church or the Hebrew Roots movement or just the New Testament, it's an excellent book. It goes, chapter by chapter, story by story, verse by verse. You can go to any part in Matthew and look at the commentary. If you want to look at the resurrection story or the Sermon on the Mount, you can go to that part, and you can find what you're looking for easily that way.
That is most excellent. Jason, it has been a blast, brother. I'm very glad I got to meet you in Houston at Nativ with Rod Bryant. If you're around the Houston area and need a good place to go, check out Rod Bryant at nativ.net. It's a really great community he's got going there. You'll meet this handsome guy and his beautiful wife, and it's hospitality like you've never seen before. So, Jason,
come on back.
Hey, there you go, man. Well, we'll see you again, hopefully in a part 2, maybe sometime this summer. So that'd be kind of nice. I'd like to get an interview with maybe both you and your wife. I'm sure a lot of viewers out there, they enjoy hearing the married couple testimonies together as a package deal. So that's kind of nice. So, look. All right, brother. Well, it sure has been fun. I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully in person sometime soon. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Shalom, shalom to you all. Take care. Shalom, shalom.
אני אתה אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד איפוק זו העוצמה ויתור זו הגדולה השאיפה